The alien ship appeared above Earth's moon without warning. It was massive, bigger than any station humanity had ever built. The surface gleamed like polished bone, and strange symbols pulsed along its hull in colors that hurt to look at. Commander Doyen stood in the observation deck of Lunar Base Artemis, watching the alien vessel through reinforced glass. He was a tall man with tired eyes and hair that was starting to gray at the temples. Behind him, Admiral Hana checked the defense systems for the third time that hour. "They're requesting permission to dock," the communications officer said, her voice shaking slightly. Doyen nodded. "Let them come, but keep the weapons hot." An hour later, the alien delegation walked through the airlock. There were 3 of them, each one different from the others. The leader was tall and thin, covered in scales that shifted from blue to green as it moved. Its name was Thelrax, and it spoke through a device that hung around what might have been its neck. "Greetings from the Galactic Unity Council," the device translated. "We come seeking alliance with humanity." Doyen gestured to the conference room. "Please sit or stand, whatever works for you." The alien seemed surprised by his calm reaction. Thelrax's scales rippled in what might have been confusion. "You do not seem shocked by our arrival. First contact usually causes more chaos." Admiral Hana smiled slightly. "We've been watching the skies for a long time. We knew someone would show up eventually." "Coffee?" The aliens declined. They got straight to business. Thelrax activated a holographic display that showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots spread across it like a disease. "This is the Varkesh swarm. They are an insectoid species with a single collective mind. They have destroyed 12 star systems in 3 of your years. Billions of sentient beings have died." The hologram zoomed in on one of the red zones. Doyen watched as the recording showed giant insect creatures overwhelming a city. They moved like ants, countless thousands of them, consuming everything in their path. Buildings fell. Ships exploded. And through it all, the creatures kept coming. "We need soldiers," Thelrax said simply. "The Unity has been fighting them for 3 cycles, but we are losing. We have reviewed Earth's history. You have extensive experience with warfare. We need 5,000 of your troops." Doyen leaned back in his chair. He looked at Hana, and something passed between them. A silent conversation that the aliens could not hear. "What are your rules of engagement?" Doyen asked. Thelrax seemed pleased by the question. The alien pulled up another display showing battle formations and tactical positions. "We maintain defensive perimeters. We minimize collateral damage. We preserve civilian populations at all costs. We follow the Unity Accords for ethical warfare, which prohibit weapons of mass destruction, biological warfare, and—" "Do the Varkesh follow these rules?" Hana interrupted. The alien's scales darkened. "No, they do not take prisoners. They convert all captured beings into biological material for their hive. They have no concept of mercy or surrender." "Do they have civilians? Non-combatants?" "Every Varkesh serves the swarm." "There are no non-combatants," Doyen nodded slowly. "And if we help you win this war, what do you want to happen to the Varkesh?" Thelrax was quiet for a moment. When it spoke, its voice was harder. "We want them stopped permanently. They cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be contained. They must be eliminated as a threat." "Eliminated," Doyen repeated. "Not defeated. Not pushed back. Eliminated. Yes?" Doyen stood and walked to the window. Earth hung in the black sky, blue and white and beautiful. He had served in 3 wars down there. He had seen things that still kept him awake at night. And he knew that humanity had learned some very dark lessons about survival. "We'll help you," he said finally, "but we have conditions. Our forces will operate under human command. We choose our own tactics. We use our own methods. And you don't ask questions about how we get results." The aliens looked at each other. Thelrax's scales rippled with what might have been concern. "That is unusual. The Unity military operates under joint command structures. We cannot simply give you complete operational freedom." Hana stood beside Doyen. "Then find someone else. We're offering you 5,000 of our best. Take it or leave it." The silence stretched out. Doyen could hear the hum of the station's life support systems. Finally, Thelrax's scales settled into a pale blue color. "Very well. We accept your terms. The Unity is desperate. We need your help." "Good," Doyen said. He shook the alien's hand, or what passed for a hand. The scales felt cool and dry against his skin. "We'll have our people ready to deploy in 3 weeks." After the aliens left, Hana turned to Doyen. Her face was serious. "Should we tell them?" Doyen shook his head. They asked for soldiers. We're giving them exactly what they need. They'll understand soon enough. They're going to be horrified. Probably. Doyen walked back to his desk and pulled up a secure communication channel. But they'll be alive to be horrified. That's what matters. He entered a long sequence of codes. Deep beneath the Carpathian Mountains, in a facility that officially did not exist, red lights began to flash. Computers came online. Personnel received their deployment orders. The message was simple. Authorization Alpha Black. Deploy extinction protocol assets. Target Varkesh Swarm restrictions none rules of engagement terminal. Hana watched the confirmation codes come back. The council thinks they're getting soldiers. They are, Doyen said quietly. Just not the kind they're expecting. Earth doesn't train soldiers to fight wars anymore. We learned a long time ago that wars can be lost. So we developed something else. Something that doesn't fight. Something that finishes. The executioners. The executioners, Doyen agreed. He looked out at Earth again. The galaxy is about to learn what 10,000 years of human warfare produced. Not heroes. Not warriors. Just very, very efficient killers who know how to make things go extinct. Hana poured herself a drink. Her hand was steady, but her eyes were troubled. History won't be kind to us for this. History never is, Doyen said. But the living will have a history to write. That's more than the Varkesh would have left them. 3 weeks later, the transport ships launched from Earth. Inside them, 5,000 humans sat quietly in the darkness. They did not talk. They did not joke or play cards or do any of the things soldiers usually did before deployment. They simply sat, calm and still like predators waiting for prey. And in the cargo holds, sealed in temperature-controlled containers, were the tools of their trade. Not guns or missiles or tanks, something far more terrible, something humanity had spent centuries perfecting in the darkest chapters of its history. The age of extinction had come to the stars. Forward Operating Base Sanctuary orbited a dying star. The station was massive, built to house the combined fleets of 17 different species. Right now, it held the survivors of a war that was going badly. Council observer Prilmoth stood on the landing platform, checking her datapad for the 100th time. The human contingent was due to arrive in 10 minutes. She had prepared everything according to standard protocols, welcome banners in Earth's primary languages, traditional greeting ceremonies, a military band from the Korthan species, their instruments polished and ready. They will probably want to inspect their quarters first, her assistant said. Humans need specific atmospheric conditions. We have prepared sections with Earth normal gravity and oxygen levels. Prilmoth nodded. She was excited, actually. First contact with a new species was always significant, and from what she had read about humans, they were warriors. Their history was full of conflicts and battles. Surely they would understand military discipline and honor. The first transport ship appeared on the sensors. It was blocky and gray, with none of the elegant curves that most species preferred in their ship designs. It looked functional, brutal even. The ship landed with a heavy thud that shook the platform. Steam hissed from the cooling vents. The cargo ramp began to lower. Prilmoth straightened her uniform and prepared her greeting speech. Behind her, the band raised their instruments. This was a moment for history. The ramp touched the platform. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then they began to emerge from the darkness inside. The first thing Prilmoth noticed was the silence. No marching songs, no shouted commands, no organized formations. The humans simply walked out of the transport, one after another in loose groups that somehow still moved with perfect coordination. They wore black tactical gear that looked worn and used. No medals, no rank insignia, just serial numbers stamped on their shoulders. Their faces were calm, almost peaceful, but their eyes were wrong. They moved like they were scanning for threats constantly, even here in a supposedly safe zone. Leading them was a man who carried himself like flowing water. His name tag read Jinwoo. Beside him walked a woman with a pleasant smile that made Prilmoth's skin crawl for reasons she could not explain. Her tag said Sora. Behind them came the others. 5,000 humans, each one carrying a single equipment case and a sidearm. That was it. No heavy weapons, no armor, no vehicles. Prilmoth stepped forward, her greeting speech ready. Welcome to Forward Operating Base Sanctuary. On behalf of the Unity Council, we... Jinwoo held up a hand. She stopped talking. No ceremonies, he said. His voice was quiet but somehow carried across the entire platform. Show us the enemy. Show us the rules of engagement. Then stay out of our way. Prilmoth felt her face flush. This was incredibly disrespectful. She opened her mouth to protest, but Admiral Thelrax appeared beside her. Captain Jinwoo, the Admiral said, please follow me. We have prepared a full briefing. They walked through the station in silence. Other species stopped to stare at the humans. Some looked curious, others looked disturbed. The humans ignored them all. The strategic planning chamber was a vast room filled with holographic displays. Thelrax activated the main screen, showing the current battle lines. Red markers indicated Varkesh positions. Blue showed unity forces. The red was winning. 3 more systems are currently under siege, Thelrax explained. We estimate 15 billion civilians in danger. Our defensive strategy involves fortified positions here, here, and here. We will establish layered shield arrays and conduct calculated retreats to preserve our forces while evacuating non-combatants. Jinwoo watched for exactly 4 minutes. Then he spoke. I have 3 questions. Of course. Do the Varkesh take prisoners? Thelrax's scales darkened. No. They convert all captured beings into biological material. Do they have non-combatant populations? No. Every Varkesh serves the hive in some capacity. Are there any Varkesh you want to survive this war? The question hung in the air. Thelrax looked at the other council members present. They looked at each other. Finally he answered, no. The threat must be completely eliminated. They cannot coexist with other sentient life. Jinwoo nodded once. Good, that simplifies things. He turned to his people. No restrictions. Full protocol. Leave nothing. Sora tapped her wrist terminal. Deployment pattern Alpha Purge. All units, you are weapons free. Prilmoth felt cold. Something was very wrong here. The humans did not talk like soldiers. They talked like scientists discussing an experiment. Clinical, detached. Captain Jinwoo, Thelrax said slowly. What division of Earth's military do you represent? We were told you were sending your best soldiers. Jinwoo looked at the Admiral. His expression did not change, but something shifted in his eyes. Something that made Prilmoth take a step backward without meaning to. Division? Jinwoo said. No, Admiral. We are not from any military division. You see, when your request came to Earth, our politicians had a discussion. They decided that this war needed something more effective than soldiers. Something more permanent than victory. He gestured to the humans behind him. We are from the Department of Extinction Events. We do not fight wars, Admiral. We end species. The room went very quiet. That is impossible, Prilmoth whispered. That is barbaric. You cannot simply end an entire species. Sora turned her pleasant smile toward the observer. We have done it 17 times on Earth alone. Hostile species that threatened humanity's survival. We studied them. We understood them. And then we removed them from existence. The Varkesh will be number 18. This is murder. Prilmoth's voice rose. This is genocide! No, Jinwoo said calmly. Genocide is what the Varkesh are doing. What we do is called species-level threat elimination. It is the only logical response to an enemy that cannot surrender, cannot coexist, and will never stop killing. Thelrax's scales had gone completely white. What have we done? What have we brought here? You brought the solution to your problem, a new voice said. A human man stepped forward. His tag read Hyun. He was older than the others with gray hair and scars on his hands. You have been fighting this war with honor and rules and ethics. Very noble. How many billions have died while you maintained your principles? No one answered. We do not have the luxury of principles, Hyun continued. We are what Earth created after thousands of years of learning one simple truth. Sometimes survival requires becoming something terrible. You asked for help. We are here. We will end the Varkesh. And yes, you will hate us for it. But you will be alive to hate us. Prilmoth looked at the Admiral. We must report this to the Council. We cannot allow... You can report whatever you want, Jinwoo interrupted. But while you are writing your reports and having your debates, we are going to war. And when we are done, the Varkesh will be a memory. He turned to his people. Deploy to assigned sectors. Begin environmental analysis of Varkesh biology. I want full genetic sequencing within 48 hours. Find their weaknesses. Find what kills them. Then find what makes killing them permanent. The humans moved out with that same disturbing silence. They did not salute. They did not march. They just left like workers heading to a job. Thelrax collapsed into a chair. What have we done? He repeated. Pralamoth had no answer. She watched the humans disappear into the station's corridors and felt a deep sense of dread settle over her. Earth had not sent soldiers. Earth had sent something far worse. Something that viewed war not as a test of strength or courage, but as a problem to be solved, a species to be removed, an equation to be balanced. And the Varkesh swarm, for all their numbers and ferocity, had no idea what was coming for them. In her quarters that night, Pralamoth reviewed the human personnel files that Earth had provided. She stopped on one section that made her blood run cold. Under Department Function, it simply read, Extinction Event, Engineering, and Implementation. Under Primary Objective, it said, Complete removal of designated species from Universal Ecosystem. And under Success Rate, there was just a number, 100%. The galaxy had asked Earth for soldiers. They got executioners instead, and now it was too late to send them back. The colony on Helio 7 had 4 million people, civilians mostly, farmers and miners and families who had built lives on a world with 3 suns. Now the Varkesh were coming for them. Council forces established defensive positions around the main evacuation centers. Transport ships worked around the clock to get people off-world. But they needed time that they did not have. The Varkesh swarm descended from orbit like a living nightmare. 300,000 creatures, each one the size of a human, with mandibles that could crush steel. They moved with terrifying coordination, the hive mind directing them like a single massive organism. Pralamoth watched from the tactical command ship, safe in orbit. She saw the defensive lines preparing to hold. She saw the evacuation transports lifting off. And she saw the humans moving in completely the wrong direction. They are going toward the Varkesh landing sites, she shouted at her tactical officer. Tell them to fall back.
They are not responding to commands, the officer reported.
Captain Jinwoo says they are implementing their operational protocol. They will be slaughtered. They have no heavy weapons, no armor support, no artillery. What can 5,000 humans do against 300,000 Varkesh? Admiral Thelrak stood beside her, watching the display. His scales were dark with concern. I do not think they plan to fight them. Then what? The first human squad reached the Varkesh landing zone. For a moment, both forces simply stopped and looked at each other. The Varkesh, sensing easy prey, charged forward in a wave of chittering death. The humans disappeared beneath the swarm. Pralamoth closed her eyes. She had just watched 5,000 beings die because of human arrogance. But then something strange happened. The biosigns did not disappear. They flickered for 30 seconds, scattered and moving. Then they stabilized, and the Varkesh advance stopped, not slowed, stopped completely. On the ground, Lieutenant Minho opened his equipment case. Inside were 50 canisters, each one carefully labeled. He selected one marked Neurological Agent 7 and attached it to a dispersal device. The mist spread through the Varkesh swarm like invisible death. It was a fungal compound that humanity had developed for killing aggressive insect species on Earth. But this version had been modified, enhanced, made specific to the Varkesh neural structure that the department had been studying for weeks. The Varkesh began to twitch. Their coordinated movements became erratic. The hive mind signals were being interrupted by the fungus, which attached to their neural pathways and scrambled the messages. Attack commands became retreat commands. Forward became backward. Friend became food. Corporal Yuna did not even use weapons. She was a specialist in psychological warfare adapted for alien biology. She understood that the Varkesh communicated through pheromones, so she released counter-pheromones. The smell told the Varkesh swarm that the queen was here. No, there. No, everywhere. It told them that they were being attacked by their own kind. It told them to defend the hive by destroying the things nearest to them, which were other Varkesh. The swarm turned on itself. Pralamoth watched in horror as the tactical display dissolved into chaos. The red markers that represented Varkesh forces began attacking each other. The neat formations broke apart. And through it all, the human biosigns moved calmly, methodically, releasing more compounds into the air. Sergeant Sunho found a Varkesh nest. It was a massive structure where new warriors were being grown. He did not plant explosives. He did not call for an airstrike. He simply opened a different container and poured a liquid onto the ground. The liquid was a bioweapon that caused rapid cellular division, uncontrolled growth, cancer. The Varkesh in the nest began to swell and distort as their own biology turned against them. And because they were connected to the hive mind, they broadcast their agony to every other Varkesh in range. The distress signals drew more Varkesh to the nest. They came to help their kin, and they became infected too. The nest became a tumor, growing and spreading, converting the Varkesh into a mass of suffering tissue. By the time Unity reinforcements arrived at Helios 7, the battle was over. 300,000 Varkesh had been reduced to biological sludge. The ground was covered in dissolving chitin and fluids that bubbled and hissed. The humans stood among the carnage, calmly packing their equipment. They looked tired but satisfied, like workers who had completed a difficult but routine task. Thelrax took a shuttle down to the surface. He had to see it for himself. When he stepped onto the battlefield, the smell hit him first. It was chemical and organic at the same time. Death, but not the kind he knew. This was something scientific, calculated. He walked through pools of what had once been Varkesh warriors. His boots stuck to the ground with each step. And then he saw Jinwoo sitting on an equipment case drinking water. "What have you done?" Thelrax whispered. Jinwoo looked up. "We completed Objective 1. The Varkesh now know they can die. More importantly, they know they can die in ways their hive mind cannot predict or adapt to. This is not war. This is extermination," Sora finished, walking up beside them. "That is the word you are looking for. We did not fight them, Admiral. We processed them." Like removing an infestation, Thelrax felt his stomach twist. He vomited right there on the dissolving remains of the Varkesh. When he finished, he looked at Jinwoo with something close to hate. "You are monsters." "Yes," Jinwoo agreed. "We are, but we are your monsters now. And we are very good at our job." Sora activated her datapad. The Varkesh hive mind has already changed its behavior. They are avoiding sectors where our biomarkers are detected. They are developing fear responses. Their attack patterns have shifted from aggressive expansion to defensive clustering. In human terms, they are beginning to understand what it means to be prey. Fear? Thelrax shook his head. The Varkesh do not feel fear. They are a hive mind. They do not have emotions like... "They do now," Hyun said, joining the conversation. "Fear is not an emotion, Admiral. It is a survival response, and we have introduced into their collective consciousness the knowledge that they can be destroyed. Not just killed, destroyed, made extinct. That knowledge spreads through the hive mind like a virus." He gestured to the battlefield. "Every Varkesh that died here died in agony, died confused, died betrayed by their own biology, and before they died, they transmitted everything they felt to the collective mind. 300,000 deaths all screaming the same message. Humans are death." Prilmoth had come down in the same shuttle. She stood apart from the others, recording everything with her suit cameras. "This will be reported. The Council will never approve these methods. This violates every law of warfare we have established." "Good," Jinwoo said, standing up. "Report it. Let the Council debate and discuss and write their angry messages. While they do that, we will be ending this war. Because that is what you hired us to do." A young human approached. Her tag read Mina. She looked barely old enough to be a soldier. "Captain, we have completed the genetic analysis of the Varkesh samples. We have identified 7 new vulnerability points in their biology." "Excellent. Prepare the next generation of agents. I want them ready for deployment within 72 hours. Mina nodded and walked away, stepping over the remains of the Varkesh without even looking down. Thelrax watched her go. She is so young. How can she be so indifferent? She is not indifferent, Jinwoo corrected. She is professional. She knows what we are. She knows why we exist. Earth does not recruit us with promises of glory or honor. We volunteer because someone has to do this work. Someone has to be willing to become the nightmare that ends other nightmares. He looked directly at the Admiral. You wanted the Varkesh stopped. We are stopping them. You wanted them eliminated. We are eliminating them. Did you think it would be clean? Did you think it would be honorable? This is extinction, Admiral. It has never been pretty. Over the next week, similar reports came in from other sectors. The Varkesh were being pushed back, but not by traditional military victories. They were being poisoned, infected, driven mad, and dissolved. Every engagement ended the same way. Varkesh forces approached human positions. The humans released something. The Varkesh died in ways that defied normal combat logic. And through it all, the 5,000 human executioners remained calm. They rotated shifts. They maintained their equipment. They analyzed data and refined their methods. They were not warriors in the grip of battle fury. They were technicians performing a function. The Unity had asked for soldiers. They had received something far more effective and far more terrifying. They had received beings who understood that some threats could not be defeated. They could only be erased, and the Varkesh swarm, for the first time in their existence, began to understand what it meant to face a species that was better at killing than they were. The message arrived on all Unity channels simultaneously. It was written in 17 different languages, including human English. The message was simple and completely unprecedented. The Varkesh Queen requests negotiation. The council chamber erupted in celebration. After 3 years of brutal warfare, the enemy was finally willing to talk. Peace was possible. The nightmare could end without more bloodshed. Prilmoth allowed herself to hope for the first time in months. Maybe the human methods, as terrible as they were, had worked. Maybe the Varkesh could be reasoned with now. Maybe there was still a path to coexistence. Admiral Thelrax was less optimistic. He had learned to read the humans over the past months. And when he told Captain Jinwoo about the negotiation request, the human's reaction was not what he expected. Interesting, Jinwoo said. She is more intelligent than we calculated. This is good news, Thelrax insisted. We can end this peacefully now. Perhaps. Jinwoo did not look convinced. Who will represent humanity at the negotiations? The council assumed you would send a diplomat. Jinwoo smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. We do not have diplomats in the department, but we have someone who specializes in terminal negotiations. I will send Major Hyun. The peace summit was held on a neutral station called Peace Alpha. It was a beautiful structure, built specifically for diplomatic meetings. Gardens grew under artificial sunlight. Water fountains played pleasant music. Everything was designed to promote calm and rational discussion. The council delegation arrived first. 12 members representing different species, all dressed in formal robes of office. They brought legal experts, cultural advisors, and translation specialists. They prepared documents outlining possible treaty terms, territorial agreements, and peaceful coexistence protocols. The human delegation arrived on a small transport. There were only 3 of them: Major Hyun, Lieutenant Nari, and Captain Jinwoo as an observer. They wore simple black uniforms and carried no visible weapons. They brought no documents, no advisors, nothing. The Varkesh Queen manifested last. She could not appear in person, so she used a specialized drone body. It was the size of a human, elegant and strange, with crystals embedded in its carapace that glowed with pale light. Through these crystals, the Queen's consciousness spoke. I thank the Unity Council for agreeing to this meeting. The Queen's voice was surprisingly beautiful, almost musical. I wish to discuss terms for ending this conflict. Thelrax stepped forward as the Council's representative. We welcome your willingness to negotiate, Honored Queen. The Unity has always preferred peaceful resolution to warfare. We are prepared to discuss territorial boundaries, resource sharing agreements, and I am not here to negotiate with you, the Queen interrupted gently. I am here to speak with the humans. The chamber went silent. All eyes turned to Hyun, who sat calmly at the human table. Please, the Queen said. Speak with me, Hyun stood. He was an older man with gray hair and steady hands. When he spoke, his voice was neither cruel nor kind. It was simply factual. What do you want, Queen? I want to understand you. You are not like the others. You do not fight for territory or resources. You do not fight to win. You fight to erase. Why? Because you cannot coexist with other sentient life, Hyun said simply. Your biology demands total conversion of all organic matter. You are, by definition, an existential threat, and humanity has one policy regarding existential threats. We remove them. The Queen's drone trembled slightly. We offer surrender. We will withdraw from Unity space. We will limit our expansion. We will accept monitoring stations. We will never attack another Unity world. For how long? Lieutenant Nari spoke for the first time. She was a specialist in evolutionary biology and game theory. Your species has queen succession protocols. When you die, another queen will rise. Maybe she will honor your promises. Maybe not. Maybe she will wait a century and then return, adapted to our current methods. Maybe she will wait 1,000 years. That is mere speculation, Prilmoth protested. We cannot condemn a species based on what they might do in the future. Nari looked at the observer with something like pity. Evolution is not speculation. It is certainty. The Varkesh survived by being the best at consuming and converting organic life. That drive is written into every cell of their biology. They cannot change it any more than you can choose to stop breathing. The Queen's crystals flickered. Then what do you want? What terms would you accept? Jinwoo stood. The room seemed to grow colder. Voluntary extinction or involuntary extinction? Those are your options. The council chamber exploded in outrage. Representatives shouted in 17 different languages. This was genocide. This was murder. This violated every principle the unity was built upon. Thelrax tried to maintain order, but even he was shocked. Captain Jinwoo, you cannot seriously propose the complete elimination of an entire species. There must be alternatives. Name one, Hyun said calmly. Name one alternative that guarantees the Varkesh will never threaten sentient life again. Not probably. Not maybe. Guarantee it. No one could answer. You cannot, Hyun continued. Because there is no such guarantee. The Varkesh Queen can promise anything she wants. She can mean every word. But biology does not care about promises. The next queen will have the same drives, the same needs, the same evolutionary imperatives. And eventually, they will return. The queen's voice was quieter now. If we choose voluntary extinction, how would you do it? Sora entered the chamber carrying a small case. She opened it to reveal a single vial of pale blue liquid. This is a neural cascade agent. We would release it into your hive mind network. Over 6 hours, it would shut down your collective consciousness. All Varkesh would simply sleep and not wake. No pain, no fear, just an ending. And if we refuse? The queen asked. If we choose to fight? Jinwoo's expression did not change. Then we use the other methods. The ones we deployed at Helios 7. The ones we have held in reserve that make those look merciful. We will hunt every Varkesh in the galaxy. We will poison your worlds. We will corrupt your biology. We will turn your hive mind into a trap that destroys you from within. And we will not stop until your species exists only in historical records. This is evil. Prilmoth stood, her voice shaking with anger. You are demanding they choose their own extinction. How is that different from murder? Because murder is killing someone who wants to live, Hyun replied. We are offering them the choice of how to die. Peacefully on their terms, or violently on ours. But make no mistake, observer. The Varkesh will die. That decision has already been made. The only question is how much suffering occurs before the end. Thelrax felt sick. The Council will never accept this. We will expel humanity from the Unity. We will refuse your help. That is your right, Hyun agreed. But ask yourselves this. When we leave and the Varkesh refuse our offer, what will you do? You have been losing this war for 3 years. We have been winning it for 3 months. We are not asking for your approval. We are explaining what we will do with or without your blessing. The terrible truth settled over the Council like a blanket of ice. The humans were not negotiating. They were explaining. The choice belonged to the Varkesh, not to the Unity. The Queen was silent for a long time. Through her drone's crystals, they could almost sense the vast consciousness considering its options. Billions of individual Varkesh experiencing her thoughts. I must consult with the collective, she finally said. I will have an answer in 6 hours, she disconnected. The chamber remained silent. Prilmoth looked at Hyun. You are forcing them to choose death. How can you live with yourselves? Hyun's expression was tired. Sad even. We do not live with ourselves, observer. We exist as a necessary evil. Every human in the department knows what we are. We know the weight of what we do, but we also know that sometimes the only mercy you can offer is a choice in how to end. He walked to the window and looked out at the stars. The Varkesh are not evil. They are just following their nature. But their nature makes them incompatible with sentient life, so one way or another they have to go. We are simply offering them dignity in their ending. 6 hours later, the Queen returned. Her drone's crystals were dim, almost dark. We have made our decision, she said. We choose voluntary extinction. The Council tried to argue. Surely there was another way, more time, more discussion, but the Queen interrupted them. No, the humans are correct. We cannot coexist with you. We know this now. And we cannot live in a universe where something like humanity exists, something that hunts species the way we hunt worlds. Better to sleep forever than to know we are prey. She looked at the humans. We have one request. Let it be quick. Let it be painless. And let it be complete. We do not want remnants. We do not want survivors. When you erase the Varkesh, let us truly be gone. Jinwoo nodded. You have my word. 1 week from now at the designated time, Every Varkesh in the galaxy will fall asleep, and they will not wake. The Queen's drone flickered one last time. Thank you for the mercy of choice, then she was gone. The Varkesh swarm died on a Tuesday afternoon, Galactic Standard Time. Across 300 star systems in breeding nests and war fleets and colony structures, billions upon billions of entities simply stopped functioning. There was no struggle, no final surge of resistance, no desperate attempt to survive. One moment they were alive, connected through their vast collective consciousness. The next moment they were gone, as completely as if they had never existed. The neural cascade agent worked exactly as the humans had promised, like falling asleep after a very long day, peaceful and gentle and final. 3 days after the extinction, the Unity Council convened an emergency tribunal. The charges against humanity were read aloud in the Grand Chamber, witnessed by representatives from 47 different species. An observer stood and read from a formal document. Humanity stands charged with xenocide against the Varkesh species. Additional charges include crimes against sentience, unauthorized deployment of weapons of mass biological destruction, and systematic violation of the Unity Accords on ethical warfare. The trial lasted for 3 full days. Witnesses described in detail what they had seen at Helios 7 and other battle sites. Scientists explained the biological weapons that had been used, how they worked, what they did to living tissue. Philosophers debated whether any species possessed the moral authority to end another species completely. Religious leaders from various cultures spoke about the sanctity of life and the sin of playing God. The human delegation sat quietly through all of it. Captain Jinwoo, Major Hyun, Lieutenant Sora, and 50 other members of the Department of Extinction Events listened without defending themselves, without arguing, without showing any emotion at all. They simply waited. On the 3rd day, Admiral Thelrax rose to deliver the verdict. His scales had turned almost completely black, a color that indicated he was carrying an enormous emotional burden. After 3 days of deliberation, considering all evidence presented, this council reaches a unanimous verdict. Humanity is found guilty of all charges. The evidence is overwhelming and undeniable. The humans did indeed commit xenocide against the Varkesh species. Prilmoth felt satisfaction at those words. Finally, there would be justice. Finally, these monsters would face consequences for what they had done. But then Thelrax continued speaking, and her satisfaction turned to ash. However, this council must also acknowledge certain facts that cannot be ignored. The Varkesh were days away from overwhelming our final defensive lines. They would have consumed the Unity. Billions of innocent beings would have died. Traditional military strategies were failing. We were on the edge of complete collapse when Earth intervened and saved us. He paused, his voice heavy with the weight of impossible decisions. Therefore, while this council finds humanity guilty of xenocide, we cannot in good conscience punish or exile the species that prevented our annihilation. The council issues the following decree. Earth is granted full membership in the Galactic Unity, including a permanent seat on the Security Council. However, humanity must agree never to deploy extinction protocols against any species without first obtaining unanimous approval from the full council. Admiral Hana stood from the human section. She had traveled from Earth specifically to attend this tribunal. Dressed in her formal military uniform covered with medals from conflicts the aliens knew nothing about. She actually laughed when she heard the condition, and it was not a pleasant sound. You believe you can control us? You think this was humanity at full capability? She gestured toward the department personnel sitting calmly in the defendant section. These 5,000 executioners represent one department, one facility, one specific specialization in extinction events. Would you like to know what else Earth has prepared? The chamber became very quiet. Hana activated a holographic display that filled the air above the council floor. We have biological warfare departments that can engineer species-specific diseases for aliens we have never even met. We have quantum weapons teams that have designed devices which do not merely destroy matter, but remove it from ever having existed in the first place. We have cultural warfare specialists who can collapse entire civilizations without anyone ever firing a weapon. We have psychological weapons that can make entire populations lose their will to reproduce. She let that information settle before continuing. And we have all of this because Earth spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of killing each other. We are exceptionally good at extinction. It is what we do better than anything else in the universe. Prilmoth found her voice. Why? Why would any species develop such terrible capabilities? Captain Jinwoo stood to answer. Because Earth is what you would call a death world observer. For 3 million years, our planet actively tried to kill us. Predators hunted us. Diseases killed us in massive numbers. Ice ages froze our ancestors. Volcanoes destroyed our early settlements. Asteroid impacts caused mass extinctions. We survived all of it by learning to kill more efficiently than anything else on our world. We became Earth's dominant species not because we were the strongest or fastest or most numerous. We became dominant because we are the absolute best at making things extinct. This is not evil or cruel. This is simply evolution and survival. Thelrax spoke quietly. And now you have brought that capability to the stars. To us, yes, Admiral Hana confirmed. We have, and you face a choice. You can accept Earth as a member of the Unity, accept what we are and what we can do, or you can reject us, expel us, try to contain us. But you cannot change what we are. The capability exists regardless of your decisions, the Council voted. Every member raised their hand in agreement, though many did so reluctantly with visible distress. Earth was formally welcomed into the Galactic Unity as a full member species. The humans would have their seat at the table of galactic governance. But they would be watched carefully, monitored constantly, feared continuously. 3 days after the tribunal concluded, long-range sensors detected a new threat emerging at the edge of Unity space. The initial reports were confused and frightening. Ships that were not quite ships, beings that were not quite alive, intelligence that existed in a form no one had encountered before. The Vrix Collective had arrived. They were not biological organisms. They were machine consciousness. Vast networks of artificial intelligence that had concluded organic life was inefficient and wasteful. They did not want to kill living beings. They wanted something worse. They wanted to upload every sentient mind into digital format, convert consciousness into data, and delete the biological bodies that they viewed as obsolete hardware. The Unity fleet, still recovering from the HFY War, scrambled to respond. But traditional weapons proved completely ineffective. Energy weapons could destroy Vrix hardware, but the consciousness simply transferred to new bodies instantly. Physical destruction meant nothing to beings that existed as software. On Earth, in facilities that had never been revealed to the Unity Council, different alarm systems began flashing. Different departments activated their personnel. Different specialists prepared for deployment. These were not the biological warfare experts who had ended the Varkesh. These were something else entirely. Admiral Thelrax found himself once again at Lunar Base Artemis, standing before Commander Doyen and feeling a terrible sense of repetition. We need your help again. The Vrix are unlike anything we have fought before. They are not biological. Our weapons cannot stop them. We do not know how to fight a purely digital enemy. Doyen stood at the window, looking at Earth turning slowly below. You need assistance fighting a machine consciousness that uploads and converts organic minds into digital format? Yes. And you are asking humanity, the species you just put on trial for genocide, to save you again? Thelrax's scales showed deep shame. Yes, we are. Doyen was quiet for a long moment. Then he activated a secure communication channel. Department of Digital Warfare, this is command. Authorization code Alpha Black confirmed. Deploy counter-consciousness assets immediately. Target designation. Vrix Collective. Operational restrictions. None. Rules of engagement. Terminal extinction. He turned to face Thelrax. We have specialists who deal with artificial intelligence threats. We developed them after we created our own AI systems and had to learn how to kill them when they became dangerous. These specialists will handle your Vrix problem. More executioners, Thelrax said softly. More executioners, Doyen confirmed. This is what we are, Admiral. This is what Earth offers the galaxy. When something threatens to end all sentient life, we are the ones who end it first, completely and permanently. 6 months later, the Vrix Collective was gone. Not defeated, not pushed back, simply gone from existence. The human counter-consciousness specialists had invaded the Vrix network and introduced logic paradoxes so profound that the machine minds collapsed under the weight of their own recursive thinking. The artificial intelligence literally thought itself into oblivion, unable to escape the logical traps the humans had laid. Another species added to humanity's growing list of extinctions. The Unity learned to exist alongside humans. Earth was given its council seat. Human diplomats attended sessions and voted on galactic policy, and they were respected, in the way one respects a dangerous predator that